Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Christ in Capital, the show that wants to encourage you to love God, love neighbor, and build something. I'm the host, Dustin Johnson, and I have a fantastic guest with me today, a close friend of mine. His name is Sean Melquist. How are you doing, Sean?
Doing great, Dustin. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing terrific. So why did I invite you on the show? Who are you?
Oh, yeah, I think we met a long time ago. Seems like, right? Forever. What was it, 2015 maybe?
Something like that.
14? Does that sound right? You got to tell
No,
me.
I think it was 15 or 16.
I'm guessing.
Something like that.
15
yeah.
and 16 in that range there. Yeah, I helped you buy a house back then, a new home, right?
Yep.
Is it with Eastwood? Is that right?
Eastwood, yep.
Eastwood that built your house?
Yep.
Yep. You and your wife, Katie, and now you have a little child. So yeah, you reached out, talk a little bit about real estate. We've been touching base here, always have touched base since you purchased your house. So it's great to hear back from you that you're doing something like this. And I was happy to come and speak a little bit about the market, kind of things I've seen, the knowledge I've gained over the years of being in the market, and maybe what to expect a little bit of, or what I think, my opinions, my thoughts, not necessarily the magic ball, because I don't have that answer, but yeah, looking forward to sharing a little bit about my knowledge and what I know, and hopefully help out some of your listeners.
Yes. And there's some things going on in the market right now that a lot of people are talking about. And normally people that they're not in the real estate business, they're not in this type of market, not thinking about these things on a normal basis. So I want to get you on to kind of talk about them. Yeah. But just to kind of lay the groundwork, you and I read an article from the Wall Street Journal, and it was titled, I don't remember the exact title, but it was basically here's the title: Built to Rent Suburbs Are Poised to Spread Across the USA. And so the idea of the article was that there's a huge increase in demand for rental housing. And so a lot of these big investment firms are not just buying up houses from people at huge margins above asking price, but they're actually buying direct from contractors and building these neighborhoods that are meant specifically for rental. So it'd be essentially like a suburb with typical, what you'd see in a normal suburb: houses, single family homes, just made to rent, right? And so that's kind of what we're going to discuss, was that article. But to give a little more groundwork, in the past, I don't know, couple months, maybe year or so, we've heard of this thing called the Great Reset. And I've kind of had it on my radar for a while. And, when you start talking about this, people start labeling you as a conspiracy theorist, because it involves these like global elite individuals and, conspiring to do certain things and all the ingredients you have for a typical conspiracy theory. Yeah. But this Great Reset initiative is blatant, right? You can go into the World Economic Forum's website to tell you what they're trying to do. And the connection between their initiatives, the World Economic Forum, and this thing that's going on with these investment firms seems a little fishy. And so I just wanted to, us to talk about that a little bit. Are we getting a little too out over our skis as it relates to, what's going on with these organizations? Because I've seen a lot of people talking about it, right? Blackrock's buying up these neighborhoods. It seems in line with the whole Great Reset initiative of you will own nothing and you'll be happy. That's kind of one of their big catchphrases, right? Are we going crazy? Am I going crazy? Are these people going crazy? What do you think?
Certainly
and this is just speculation, just for everyone. We're not, making any claims. We're just speculating. What's going on here?
Yeah, no, certainly not going crazy. I mean, you do see a lot of investors in the market now that are buying as much property as they possibly can. We have such a housing shortage. And when you come in and you have the power of cash and close quickly, a lot of people like that, and they end up selling to that particular investor. Neighborhoods, the built to rent neighborhoods. If the article that was sent and the article that's been speculated on is only one article, the built to rent neighborhoods is a very small portion of what the homes are being sold. It is out there, but it is a very small percentage. They do think that it will increase over time, and that is simply because there's not a lot of juice or life left in people that want to go out and obtain the home ownership. So they'll be lazy and continue to rent. So rentals are increasing because of that. That's one of the reasons why they're increasing. And there's been a lot of developments that have come up in apartments that go up all over the place. We're talking specifically about single family housing, as it relates to the real estate market, and these investors coming and working directly with builders to purchase 200, 400 lots and develop them primarily for rental neighborhoods. That's only going to happen every so often. You think about the development, or that's only going to happen in certain areas that can do that. You're still going to have builder competition out there that are going to sell in the single family market and stay in the resale. We may have build to rent neighborhoods, but I wouldn't think that it's going to be something that is going to reset us. I think a lot of the articles and stuff like that, like this article out there, fear mongering is something that I certainly thought of when I read it, and I read things like that, is just, hey, this great reset is coming tomorrow, which I agree with the great reset. I agree that they're trying to control our money and the dollar more. They want to cancel out the power of the dollar that we have here in America. And yeah, by all means, if we let them continue to do that and continue to not let us think that home ownership and take pride in home ownership and pride in our investments and pride in what we're doing with our money, then we're essentially rolling over on our backs and handing it back to them. And it will happen. The great reset will happen in that form. I think the reset is coming, and it can come with the economic increase in interest rates, where that's going to bring money back. They're going to slow down the giving away of money, which it's going to come. Interest rates are going to increase. We've been talking about it for years now. But it seems to keep just pushing out and keep moving in the direction of it's not slowing down necessarily yet. So we look out with the growth and with the developments that the raw land that has been being purchased by these builders, we don't see a necessarily market crash happening in the next couple of years, I would say, because there's so much undeveloped land still that these builders have bought. Now, what's going to happen in 2+ years with the builders that are buying land now? I don't know. I mean, is that when the reset's going to be, where we see at a low 6% of the housing that's being sold in the nation? 6% is the investment firms, is these build to rent neighborhoods that are out there. That'll double and that'll increase over time. But when is that going to happen? It could take a long time to get there. I still believe home ownership and investing is the way to go in your own self. So I encourage people to look at renting it out themselves and not necessarily reselling to someone to let them rent it out later. Try and property manage it yourself, or hire property manager. I have great friends that have been in the business for a long time and they manage people's properties. That's where we need to stay at, I think, with where we're putting our finances, and not necessarily fire sailing and taking all the money that we can get. We need to hold on to our investments and let our money work for us, as opposed to giving it away, where a lot of people, that's what they're doing. And greed is something that comes to mind, and we see it all the time, where these multiple offers and these people who are taking the highest and best offer because it's all cash, and selling it and just taking as much money as they possibly can because they can. Do we blame them for taking as much money as they possibly can right now and taking advantage of the market?
Right.
I don't think we can blame them for that, but what are they going to do with their money after they get it? I think is what we can start to point the fingers at, where they're taking it and they're just using it for simple pleasures and they're not putting it back into their family or back into another purchase. They're going and renting now forever and just going on vacations or
Right.
just spending their money wildly on nonsense. I think you can easily fall into that trap, and a lot of people are, unfortunately, because the world is evil. The world is evil.
Yeah. Plus, if you think about it, if you have all these people selling houses, which you can't really blame them for taking as much as they can get. But if you think about what that does to the housing prices in general, right? Like you were saying, what are you going to do with that money? You're going to go buy another house that's, way overpriced. I mean, it's a hard discussion, hard decision. But one thing that stood out to me in the article was, they were saying that this research agency, I don't know what the name of it. I don't remember what the name of it was. This big real estate research agency was basically saying that they predict rental housing to increase by whatever percentage you said it was, over the next 20 years or so. And I was thinking, I'm like, okay, well, what's the assumptions that they're going off of? Are they just going based off of like natural, demand? Like, are they predicting that demand is going for rental housing is going to go up that much in the coming years? Or are they baking in the assumption that global leaders or government officials are going to be pushing us that direction, and therefore it's kind of like a chicken and egg scenario? Like, it seems like everything hinges on the forecasters. What are they predicting? Which is an interesting thing to think about. Like, which one comes first?
It's tough because the population is increasing rapidly. We are procreating, and there are a lot of kids that are being had still in this nation, especially. And also immigration is another thing that's huge. And we continue to allow people into our country through immigration and increasing, but they can't purchase a home for X amount of years. That increases the rental market twofold. I mean, they're projecting that, I believe, is what they're projecting. Rentals are going up anyways right now. They're in demand because there's so many kids. There's just so much population. We talk about some of these major metropolitan markets. There is tons and tons of new apartments and new things that have been being built over the past 5 years to hold this increase in the millennials, essentially. So their forecasting is based off of these millennials that are just going to continue renting or moving out of their parents' house. We hear not wanting to get anything, but they're getting kicked out and have to go find a rental because they can't purchase because they've been living with their parents for a long time. That increases it. But again, I think a big thing that the government is looking, or the government is trying to do, is immigrate through immigration. We're seeing our population increase through immigration, and we continue to allow people in here that cannot purchase homes until their green card comes in, increases this housing need. And again, government housing. When you think about immigration, it becomes government housing.
Yeah.
Essentially.
When you say can't purchase housing, you mean like mortgage a house?
Mortgage,
is that what you're saying?
That's right. That's right.
But they can still rent, right? Which would increase mortgage market as well, I would think.
Renting is easier than purchasing. I mean, mortgage qualifications are much more rigorous to be able to purchase a home and give that risk to the banks. When you're taking out a mortgage, cash would be the way to go if you have it. But these immigrants that come in, and the people, they're working only on cash alone, and it would take them years to be able to build up to buy something like that, especially with the increase in the economy.
Yeah.
So they
Okay.
rent. They show a job history of 1 to 2 months, and they're able to get a rental. And if they stop paying it or they lose their job, then the rental agency has a backlog of people needing a place to live. They just move them out, collect whatever they can from them, and then move the next person in. Because again, almost anyone can go and rent
Yeah.
someplace.
Yeah.
Not everybody can purchase a property.
Yeah. So I hadn't really thought about that before. I don't know why I didn't think about the whole influx, like immigration influx, as a contributor to the price increase.
In the foreseeable future of it. I mean, that's what, again, in another 2 to 5 years, if we continue to allow our borders to be opened up and allow people in without hesitation or qualifications, then yeah, I mean, they're going to take our houses. That's what's going to happen. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and then you've got the other side, which is millennials. So the millennial generation, is it that just don't want to own houses? In your experience, is it because they don't want to, or is it because they can't?
Sure.
I mean, it seems like there's a lot of economic decisions that are being made right now that are making it harder for people to save up to to earn the down payment needed to buy a house. Inflation is lumber inflation, huge, skyrocketing. Lots of other things. I'm wondering what it is.
I think it's lack of knowledge and lack of ambition is really what a big part of it is. The ambitious part about going to get something, obtain something, and purchase something that's not rented or giving to you while you're sitting on your couch. I mean, the age of ease is right upon us. I mean, where we can do with everything by sitting on our couch, on our phone, change TV channels and purchase things, have things delivered to our house. So there's a lack of ambition, but knowledge is a big part of it, because I do talk to people who do want to buy, newlyweds, people who just get new jobs, that are single, all kinds of reasons why people do want to purchase, but they don't know how. Renting, they don't think they can. They think it's going to cost, they need 20% down before they go and purchase something. They don't have the knowledge nor the ambition to go and figure out what it takes to purchase. I consider myself a consultant, not a salesperson, because I help people get to where they want in home ownership, and I encourage home ownership in the right way. I encourage home ownership, but a lot of people, I do talk to a lot of people, and they just simply don't know the process of purchasing something, to sit back, take a look at what their finances are, get them under control. Some people will take a shot at it, and they'll be X amount of time out, and they lose hope because it's too hard for them to put the ambition towards purchasing something. They need 18 months credit repair, or they need 18 months to save up X amount of dollars after each paycheck, or to pay off debts that they have. There is a lack of knowledge that is out there. There's no doubt about it.
Do you think that that is being told to millennials, that you're just not going to be able to do it? Is that seed being planted in them from somewhere, or is that just them looking at the market and saying, just being kind of intimidated and saying, I'm not going to do this?
I think it's a lot of intimidation. Yeah, I do think that's where it lies. And I'll just go back to my comment about the age of ease, and the simple pleasures that we have, everything that we take for granted right now, our phones, our access to whatever we want. To go and start purchasing a property takes a lot of work. It really does. And it is not for everyone. And it is becoming something that people aren't up to bat for, because when you have a lot of competition in the market, or let's say you have the reason for it being so difficult is because there's no housing, just supply and demand. And we don't have any housing, so it's causing a ruckus in the marketplace. And when you have these big investors that are purchasing out It's not happening everywhere. I have won a number of multiple offer contests to owner occupant homeowners, because these sellers didn't want to sell to an investor, someone that's going to turn around and rent it out, turn it into a rental neighborhood, because they see it happening doors down from them, and they don't want this has been not taken care of. They have friends in their neighborhood. I think that's so important, and something that we need to not take lightly, is that we need to be out and know our neighbors and talk to people, because that's what builds the communities.
Yes. And that's where I want to go next. I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking about this and I'm like, okay, let's push a hypothetical. What if we got to a point where the suburbs, large, like everywhere, pretty much suburb areas, went to like 50% rental in these type of like neighborhoods, or just kind of independent landlords? Let's just say that happens. What is that going to do to communities and the decisions we make as a community? Like, because I'm thinking, okay, people buy houses, they invest themselves there, they root themselves there, they get invested in their schools, right? They get invested in their churches, they help make community decisions about what's going to happen in the city, or all of this type of stuff. But if you have a rental place, where I think the article is saying that renters typically stay somewhere, I don't know how many, 2 to 5 years or something like that. I don't remember exactly how long it was, but it's like, it's not a long-term kind of thing.
No.
And then you start asking, well, then who's going to make the decisions as it relates to school boards and the churches and stuff like that? And ultimately, if you have something like this going on, it's going to be some big corporations in there, right? So the very thing that the people who normally want to rent are trying to avoid, big corporations, right? We're going into a socialist, or a capitalist, hell, essentially. Well, you're going to make corporations own everything, and they're going to be making the decisions. You're not helping yourself out here.
Right. No, it's the pride of home ownership needs to be something that we maintain and keep, and encourage one another to do that. Take care of our lawns, take care of our housing from the inside out, and it helps out and it creates that community. But getting out in your lawns, I say out lawns because that's where a lot of socializing can happen. When you're outside, you see your neighbors, you're out there. Now there's obviously, we're talking about neighborhoods here. When you're renting a place, a lot of that does go out. I mean, some of these rentals, unfortunately, I mean, you don't have to even do yard work on it. You don't have to do anything other than just pay rent and pay your water bill and pay for the electricity that you use. Like, they have someone that comes by, does the lawn, because that ambition is just not there. People want to stay in their house, and it's really sad. And it is a little bit scary when you think about it and where it could go to. But I believe in something greater. I believe in something bigger, and I believe that there will be people that will stand up when pushed hard enough about these big corporations that are continuing to come in, and the pride of home ownership is still there. I think we just need to continue to find it, see it, and just let people know that it is still around. It's something to be proud of. Purchase property, real estate's one of the best investments you can make, and one of the most prideful things you can have. I keep saying that word, maybe because it's Pride Month. I don't know.
Probably not.
Probably not, but it is something that we need to be happy about and prideful over is our properties, our yards, and things that are going to give us a return, and something that feels good. When I was renting a house, I didn't take pride in it. I did not. I didn't mow my lawn as much as I need to, and I didn't pick up sticks nearly at all. I purchased the same property I was renting for 4 years, and it's like something magical happened, where I started actually looking at things, and I was mad at myself for man, I wasted these last 4 years. I let this grass overgrow. Now I got to pick it all back out.
Right.
But we refinanced and got an equity line, and we we did a lot of nice things with it because of our home. We could never have done that if we didn't own our property.
Yeah.
And that's what's there for everybody, and people have to understand that. And that's my job as a realtor.
That's it's one of those things when you start reading like economists, like I don't know if you're familiar with like Thomas Sowell and some of these other free market guys, where essentially if you put your skin in the game and you have a whole bunch of people around you who have your skin in the game, they're, things are going to go better than if you're not taking responsibility. You have no responsibility for it. It's someone else's responsibility to do this. And that's what I think a big part of home ownership is you're invested here. This is yours. Take care of it. With Christ in Capital, we always push the idea that you're made in God's image, and you're required by Him to reflect Him in the world. His creative capacities, his ingenuity, his all of that.
Yeah.
And the article was saying something like a lot of these people just they want to rent because they don't want the responsibility of replacing the garage door when it breaks, or taking care of the yard, mowing the yard, or
it's just easier.
It's easier. Like you were saying, let me have it now. I don't want any risk. Just clean slate. But if we kind of dive into that mindset and let it consume us, we're people who just rent. We don't engage in these social networks. That's kind of a bad term, but the networks that we have outside of our home when we're with our neighbors and our churches and our schools, if we don't engage in those, then the most lasting and most heavily influential networks that we have are these social media networks, right? And we don't want that. We don't want that. That's a recipe for disaster, as I think we're seeing right now.
That's why we're in. Part of some of the disasters that we're in is it has taken a lot from us, and we've relied on it way too much. And no doubt, it's tough, and it's okay to rely on it, but you can't let it consume you, and let it start ordering your steps, what you do and the decisions that you make.
Yeah, I just think we talk about on the show a lot, being invested in your local community. That's where it has to start. That's what us conservatives are about. Just be invested in your local community, love your neighbors, be ambitious, like you're saying, build something, do something with your hands, work. So just to kind of, as we're closing out, do you have any advice for people who may be looking at the housing market right now? Like we were saying, it looks kind of intimidating. Should they wait? Should they go ahead and start? You can't.
We say ready, willing, and able is kind of how we go. If we have a ready, willing, and able buyer to purchase property, or a seller to sell a property, then it's always a good time to do it. You advise around people's ambitions, really. I mean, you can harp on that word for a little bit, but what are you purchasing the property for? Are you purchasing it for long term, or is it something that's a starter home and you want to get into it now for only a few years? Sometimes maybe it is wiser to sit back, stay where you're at, rent for a little bit longer, to buy something that you want, because you may pay a little bit higher of a premium for something that you don't want if it's just a temporary thing. But ready, willing, and able. I mean, if it's a desire that you have, there's no doubt you should go after it, and don't be intimidated. It's not easy, but it is something that is well worth it. Home ownership is a great thing to have, and it's money in your pocket, and especially in almost every single market in this nation right now. You buy a property, the next day you have equity built into it. I mean, just the way that the market is going to, it's always a good time to buy. What looms ahead, I don't know. You don't know. There's only one that does know. And we can't live in fear of what's going to happen tomorrow. If it's something that you want today and you can get it today, I say go get it and take pride in it.
Awesome. So I was going to tell you, let's have a call after this, because we may be wanting to move. I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we'll talk later. But anyways,
Wait, you're being serious? You're being half serious.
We'll talk later. All right.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
You got. That's great.
Yeah. So we'll. Yeah. Any last things you want to say before we sign off?
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me on, Dustin. It was great.
Where can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, my cell phone is the best way to reach me. Search me on Google. You'll be able to find all my information there, and how to get a hold of me. Send me a text message, reach out. Realtor.com would be probably the closest site to me that we're affiliated with. We're not affiliated with Zillow. They have their own thing going on. So if you go there, stuff won't look the same as it does on my website and also on Realtor.com, who the National Association of Realtors is affiliated with. That's where you're going to find the most honest information and up-to-date information regarding me, how I do my business. But a text or a phone call is always great, always welcomed. My phone's always on, and most always get back to people in a reasonable time. You can reach me at 704-726-0254. And again, I'm sure you'll be able to find me through Dustin's spelling of my name in Google.
That's right. And I'll tag some of those links in the show notes so that people can get in touch with you. All right. Awesome.
So much.
Another great one in the books. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Love God, love neighbor, build something. Okay, I'm just going to pause this real quick.